How's it going, everybody's Mac, and welcome back to another Dead by Daylight video today. This video is going to be a little bit different than my regular Dead by Daylight videos. Instead of actually just going ahead and playing a match and briefly covering some of the leaks and sources that have been coming out as of recently regarding the brand new Resident Evil chapter, I've decided to go basically straightforward onto Twitter and to show you guys the actual information regarding some of these new leaks in its full entirety. Now, I'm pretty sure that Dead by Daylight is leaking their own shit at this point because it just so happens that things are being leaked in great detail about every chapter that's been going on for the last number of months, the last couple of years. And unfortunately, this Resident Evil chapter is like nothing short of ridiculous when it comes to the leaks that have been released. So because of that, I'm just going to go ahead and draw the entire Twitter account and go through some of these leaks because I'm pretty sure the majority of you have probably seen it by now, or if you haven't, you're about to get exposed to some of them already because I know a lot of other content creators have already covered these things. But on to the DVD Leaks Twitter account. If we scroll down here, we've got the first tweet up here that says the anonymous source sent these screenshots from Resident Evil chapter. Make sure to check the whole thread. Aydah Wong, Rebecca Chambers, and Albert Wesker model. We have Albert Wesker, which looks pretty decent. I mean, if we're going to talk about how realistic it is compared to the counterpart from the actual series, I think it looks pretty accurate. It's done a pretty good job. Unfortunately, I just don't think that Albert really looks fucking interesting to play against in terms that he doesn't look scary. Okay, he's not really a scary villain, so I mean, hopefully he's fun mechanically, but other than that, he doesn't have a scary look, and he probably isn't going to really come out with too many outfits either. So it's pretty cool. He has some red eyes. We got some sunglasses here too. A pretty cool smirk. This looks like a lobby smirk that he does, similar to how the Trickster turns around and winks at you. He probably turns around and pushes up his glasses or takes them off or something. I wouldn't be surprised. He has a knife for a weapon, a pretty big ass knife, which is, I mean, hey, that's a cool looking weapon that might feel pretty satisfying to attack survivors with, so I'm all for it. I already probably enjoy swinging and hitting survivors with that because I like to play killer quite often. The next survivor we have is this person. I already kind of forgot the names recording this video. However, she looks pretty cool, okay? I think she has some of the coolest, probably idle animations in the lobby. Unless I'm mistaken, I don't pay attention. I've never seen a survivor with her, arm behind her back before. And she looks a bit thoughtful, and it's pretty, high-spirited, which is a little bit strange for Dead by Daylight as a game and lore-wise, but I think she's pretty cool. And for a survivor that has this kind of like job aesthetic where they're wearing a uniform, I think this is one of the cooler ones aesthetically, and I think she'd be pretty fun to play as well. But again, survivors are just kind of like glorified skins regardless. The perks is what really matters here. And now we got Aydah Wong. Now, I don't necessarily know why we got less pictures compared to the other two. Probably because her dress is pretty simple, but we got the classic red dress here. I would be shocked if the developers in Resident Evil didn't take like the steps to make like color variants of this dress, because I think it'd be pretty easy to do so, and it would allow people to have some more creative freedom. So I would hope that in the shop at least, they would at least for cheap sell like color variants with a little bit of an aesthetic change, design change, maybe put a little design on the dress. There's a lot to do here because the dress basically operates as a blank canvas, okay? It's very easy to customize this and to sell them onto the shop. So if they didn't, I think it might be a missed opportunity there. But overall, again, A looks pretty good here too. They made it very accurately compared to the games. I've seen the Resident Evil 2 remake, so I think this is going to be pretty dope as well. In other news, Claire, Redfield, and Jill had their models fixed. I don't know why they struggled to get their models correct or more accurate when they first came out. I think that was a fucking huge miss on Behavior's part, but as you can see on the left-hand side here, we have a far more accurately designed Claire Redfield versus the right-hand side, where she just looks monstrous. I don't know what's going on here by her eyeballs or nose, but it is probably the most important thing with the way that these old Resident Evil models looked. And that's with the graphical update too. This was in the midst of them already upping the graphics. There was like no excuse. I don't know how the hell these models came out looking so bad. But fortunately enough, they're going to get their rework and they're going to be updated and they're going to look a lot better. Same thing with Jill Valentine. She looks infinitely better, far more realistic. Now, she hasn't been that bad. Jill came out looking awful, and even in the old version, she doesn't look that bad here. So all we got here is a little bit more updated graphics, maybe a little bit more likeness. But ultimately, I wasn't really unhappy with Jill Valentine here. But there was another different model that they first came out with, I remember, that made her look really gross. Not on purpose, but still, it's a mistake that happened. They fixed her a little bit, but now they fixed her more. So now she looks a bit more like the real actor herself who played Jill in Resident Evil 3 Remake. Pretty excited about that. We got some portraits here. I don't know if there was any for Claire, but we got the new portraits for Jill. Again, the old one doesn't look bad at all. The new one looks a bit more accurate to the actor, or I keep saying actor, but actress is probably the better term for that. But again, definitely an improvement, especially in the hair. There's a bit more lighting there. And again, very, very cool. Now we got to all of the Resident Evil perks and Wesker powers. We're gonna go ahead and read them off to you. We got reactive, oh, my bad. We got reactive healing. It says the more situation becomes compromised, the more determined you become to complete the operation. When another survivor loses a health state in a 32-meter radius around you while you are injured, instantly increase your healing progression by 35% of the missing healing progression. Low profile. You work best alone. When it's just you and your pursuer, you know how to disappear. When you become the last survivor, this perk activates. Hide your scratch marks and pools of blood for 90 seconds. Low profile might be pretty decent when it comes to trying to find the hatch at the end of the match and not getting found, because obviously if you walk and this killer's looking for the hatch as well, then you're going to give the killer a far bigger window and a bigger opportunity to find the hatch before you do, and to close it on you before you get it, ultimately ending in your demise. The low profile is probably going to be a good perk when it comes to trying to leave the match via the hatch at the end of the game, because you can probably run around, and as long as you don't be blatantly in the killer's vision, it'll be harder to track you down. And we got wiretap that says you know that the best way to stay one step ahead is to keep tabs on the competition. After repairing generators for a total of 33%, this perk activates. After repairing a generator for at least 30 seconds, not 30 seconds, 3 seconds, press the active ability button to install a wiretap, which stays active for 80 seconds. The aura of trapped generators are revealed in yellow to all survivors. When the killer enters within 14 meters of the trapped generator, their aura is revealed to all the survivors. Damaging the generator destroys the wiretap. So wiretap is, I guess, the solution, probably to solo queue a little bit. I think this is probably the behavior's attempt to allow survivors to communicate with one another, but ultimately people are probably not going to run the perk the way that they think they would. I don't know why some things are not just base kit. Not to say that base kit should be marking generators and letting people see them, or and then having the ability to reveal the killer's aura within the radius, but I don't understand why they can't develop and implement pretty easy ways for solo queue survivors to communicate with their people, with their teammates. It makes zero sense to me. I think it's a missed opportunity when they struggle to do that kind of stuff. Ultimately, though, these perks seem decent. I don't think they're going to be meta changing, but hopefully it's going to encourage some people to play a little bit differently and communicate with their teammates a little bit better for solo queue. Then we got hyper focus. This Rebecca Chambers perk says you throw yourself entirely into your tasks and find ways to be more efficient than anyone else. After hitting a great skill check while repairing or healing, this perk gains 1 token up to 6 tokens, and each token increases the chance of a skill check trigger by 2%. The skill check cursor speed by 4%, and the bonus progression for the great skill checks by 30% of its base value. Perk loses all of the tokens in case of normal skill check success, skill check fails, or the action is stopped by any means. Better than new. You are an expert in combat medicine. Patients leave your care reinvigorated. Upon completing a healing action or on another survivor, the targeted survivor gets a 6% speed boost to repairing generators, healing, opening chests, and cleansing tomes for 35 seconds. And then we got reassurance that says your presence helps allies focus. Whatever the word is, the panic associated with extreme conditions. When within a 6-meter radius around a hooked survivor, use the active ability button to pause their struggle progression for 30 seconds. If they are on the struggle phase, it also pauses the struggle skill checks. Reassurance has a 40-second cooldown. Again, some of these perks feel like they're trying to help solo queue a little bit in terms of cooperating with teammates and make it a little bit more survivor friends so that they can probably balance around survivor friends more, because this is what keeps Dead by Daylight's game alive. However, I don't think that just implementing perks just can basically fix all the problems. I think they have to for sure attempt to develop and implement base kit design ways for survivors to communicate in solo queue. But these perks are not necessarily bad, but I just don't know how much I'm going to really experiment or use these perks compared to other perks that probably are just better overall. And now we got the Mastermind, or Wesker's perks. We got Superior Anatomy. Decades of research have culminated in you. Something faster, stronger, and more dangerous than any human. When a survivor performs a fast vault within 8 meters of you, this perk activates. The next time you vault a window, your vaulting speed is increased by 40%. This perk has a 30-second cooldown. Awakened Awareness. Your genes have been altered to heighten your senses in intense situations. When carrying a survivor, you can see the aura of other survivors within 20 meters of your position. Auras revealed that way stay visible for 2 seconds after you stop carrying the survivor. Then we got Terminus. You are a brilliant tactician who prepares for every eventuality. When exit gates are powered, this perk activates. While Terminus is active, injured, down, and hooked survivors are inflicted with a broken status effect until exit gates are open. When exit gates are open, survivors will stay broken for an additional 30 seconds. I think Terminus might be a pretty good perk the 3 of these to apply pressure to some survivors, especially at the end game where it could be rather difficult. I wonder if this basically means that all the survivors are going to essentially become one-shot, because if you're in a broken status effect, then you kind of have to like mend yourself. That's usually the status effect in which you have to mend yourself. And if you have to mend yourself, yeah, that means you probably are in a vulnerable state where you're going to get hit. Well, technically speaking, it does say people who are injured or downed and hook survivors. So these are people who are going to be injured anyways. So I guess it's just to put pressure on these injured people, if they were to get off the hook or they get up off the ground, to basically heal themselves and waste extra additional time, allowing the killer to basically put more pressure before they actually get powered. I mean, they're already going to be injured, so they're already one shot. So maybe I'm just wrong about that. But again, probably Terminus might be a decent pressure perk for the end of the match, which is actually probably going to piss survivors off a lot. I know it could be pretty frustrating if this is going to be a widely used perk. This could be used pretty efficiently compared to if you stack it with certain perks and different builds. The last one we got to mention is the Virulent Bound, the power for the Mastermind. The Mastermind can barrel forward, infecting survivors with the Ouroboros virus or leaping over obstacles. Press and hold the power button to charge a bound attack. While charging, the Mastermind moves slightly slower as he prepares to strike. When charged, press the attack button to bound. The Mastermind hits a survivor, that survivor becomes infected, or furthers their infection. Should the Mastermind crash into something during the bound, he will slam the survivor, causing damage. If not, the survivor is thrown, losing a health state if they are thrown into any solid object. If Virulent Bound hits a drop pallet or vault location, the Mastermind vaults over the obstacle. Special effect, Ouroboros infection. Upon being hit by Virulent Bound, survivors become infected. Infected builds over time, and when they are fully infected, the survivor suffers from a hindered effect. If a Virulent Bound grabs and slams the survivor, but they are fully infected, the Mastermind will automatically carry them. Damn. Special interaction, First Aid Spray. At the beginning of each trial, several supply crates spawn. Each contains a First Aid Spray. When infected, the survivor can use the First Aid Spray on themselves or another, removing the infection. Each First Aid Spray has a set of number of charges. I guess like the regular Resident Evil chapter with the Nemesis or having some form of infection that you have to find like items. Yeah, you basically have to find the items in the map to basically remove that infection. If you don't, you're going to suffer some sort of penalty. But overall, it's going to be interesting to see what comes out of like a, an ability that allows you to slam, or even again with a special effect. If someone's like completely infected or something and you get to slam them, you can like grab a survivor while they're fully infected. That's going to be pretty interesting and neat. Probably going to save a lot of time if you get to master that and stack that against a bunch of different survivors, put pressure on the map. Yeah, Wesker sounds like he's going to be one of the more interesting killers we have in a while. If the power kind of functions pretty seamlessly as it kind of describes it to be, then it could be pretty fun watching survivors kind of like get knocked around and stuff. Because again, in the game, we've had a lot of, you either have like a mouse one killer that basically has to hit with their weapon for the most part, because their power doesn't really do anything. And then we got like powers that basically kind of like one shot or do extra damage, or we got like projectiles that can do extra damage and stuff and make survivors drop some health states. So I think having something like this is going to be pretty interesting, because I think it might be a killer that might be more fun, kind of like the Blight. I know the Blight has a lot of like stigma around him. However, the Blight is pretty fun, okay, when you're like ping-ponging around with slamming the walls and it works properly. So I think that this killer is going to be pretty interesting and be a lot of fun. Overall, though, that's going to be it for this video. We talked about the Dead by Daylight leaks for the Project W Resident Evil chapter. I hope you guys did enjoy the video. If you guys did, as always, please be sure to hit the like button and subscribe to the channel if you're new. I know that the PTB comes out tomorrow, but unfortunately, I will be working whenever the PTB comes out. So the likelihood that I get a video out right away is not very high. So please be patient and bear with me. Trust me, guys, I'm trying to get content out for you guys as much as possible. I'm just a busy man. But regardless, thank you guys so much for watching. My name is Mac. I'll talk to you guys all later. Peace out.